We're looking at the temptations of Jesus, and when it comes to temptations, the book of Hebrews is excellent in showing us the purposes behind the temptations of Jesus. In chapter 4 of Hebrews, verse 15, for we do not have a high priest who cannot sympathize with our weaknesses, but one who has been tempted in all things as we are, yet without sin. So we see a number of things in this one verse. Jesus, first of all, can sympathize with our weaknesses because he too has suffered the weaknesses of the human flesh. He is the God-man, and so is deity. He's not like us, but in his humanity, in his flesh, he knew all the weaknesses that we do. He hungered, he got tired, he had other needs that needed to be met. Jesus understands our weaknesses. And he does that in order that it says that he can be tempted in all things as we are. So as we think about Jesus and the life that he lived, about 33 years on earth, there would be many, many temptations that would come his way. For the first 30 years, we don't know what he went through exactly because we have very little information about those years. But starting at about age 30, as he began his public ministry, we start finding in the Gospels some of the temptations that Jesus faced. But we know that living on this planet in a sinful world, just think about that. The bombardment of sinfulness and the sinful humanity around Jesus had to be a temptation in itself. The Lord of glory had never been personally, experientially among people like us. He, of course, knew, he, of course, understood, he had all that down, but experientially, he had not been among us. And so he is bombarded as the perfect, holy God of the universe. He's bombarded moment by moment in intense ways perhaps we could never grasp, the awfulness of sin and the power of sin and the ugliness of sin. And so Jesus understood it. It said he was tempted in all ways as we are. That doesn't mean every single temptation that anybody has ever faced that Jesus faced. There's so many thousands of temptations. But every type of temptation Jesus has endured. So if you want to know what type those are, maybe the Ten Commandments would be a good starting place. Satan wanted him to, in essence, blaspheme God. Some of the Pharisees thought he was blasphemous. There would be the temptation to hate, the temptation to perhaps murder, although that might be further than what Satan would even try, although he could have done so if he wanted to. He could have called down his angels and destroyed the universe if he wanted to, but we don't know that he was tempted there or not, but certainly he was tempted to hate. He was tempted to lie to protect himself. He was tempted to covet other people's stuff. He was tempted in all the ways, all the types that you and I are. And yet it says, without sin, and therefore he can sympathize with us, and we can go before him knowing that he has endured what we've endured. Now, with all that as a backdrop, we go back over to Luke chapter 22, and Jesus is in the upper room with his disciples, and he's facing some great temptations as he heads towards the cross. And in verse 28, he says to them, you are those who have stood by me in my trials. Now, think about that. Here is the Son of God who has been going through all these trials. The word trial, by the way, is the same Greek word as temptation or tempt, just used differently in different contexts. So in all his temptations and all of his trials, these men have stood by him. They have been his confidants, his encouragers, those who loved him. They were all there with him. And I find it amazing that the Lord himself appreciated the fact that there were others there to be with him during his times of temptations and his times of trials. We probably don't think of Jesus that way, as being the all-sufficient, all-powerful God-man, and yet at the same time, as a man in his humanity, the need for fellowship, the need for encouragement was there. And Jesus appreciated that. And if he did, think about us. Think about how needy we are, really, how much we need others. The scriptures are constantly reminding us of how much we need one another and how we need to encourage one another and pick one another up. This is a constant theme of the Bible. And so if Jesus needed that, then I know I need that. And I appreciate it so much, as you do, I'm sure. When others come alongside me, encourage me in various ways, are just there for me in my times of need. What a blessing that is. That should give you a wonderful day in the Lord as you think of the ones the Lord has put in your life to help you travel this journey and be helped at our time of need.